Hello, my dear friends. I want to begin today's discussion with a sad incident that occurred to one of my patients recently. This may sound shocking, but it's also incredibly important. Last night, a 75-year-old man passed away during sexual activity. Yes, you heard me right. He was enjoying an intimate moment with his partner, but what should have been a time of pleasure and connection turned into tragedy. Now, before you panic or feel embarrassed to even talk about this, let me tell you something I have kept in my heart for a long time. I cherish you guys so much, and I'm really concerned about your health. From my professional experience of over 40 years working closely with seniors, sexuality doesn't have an expiration date. Many people who are over 60, 70, even into their 80s and beyond continue to enjoy meaningful, loving, and even passionate relationships. That's a beautiful thing. Intimacy, affection, and physical touch are not only natural, but they're also good for your emotional and physical health when done safely. But here's the truth no one talks about. Not all sex practices are safe for aging bodies. As we get older, our cardiovascular system, our joints, our flexibility, and even our medication routines can all play a role in how our body responds to sexual activity. Ignoring these factors, especially because we want to prove we're still young or keep up with unrealistic expectations, can lead to heart attacks, strokes, serious injuries, or even sudden death. Like in the unfortunate case I just mentioned. That's why in this video, I want to talk to you, not as a scolding doctor, but as someone who truly cares. Our discussion will be based on 4 specific sexual practices that should be avoided, or at least adjusted if you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or older. Please note that I am going to provide all this information to you because I want you to stay safe, so you can continue enjoying your relationships and your life with joy and confidence. So before we dive in, please make sure to like this video, and also subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone you care about. Because this is a piece of information that could genuinely save a life. Now let's begin with the first sex practice you should avoid or modify immediately if you're over 60, 70, or 80. Number 1. Avoid overexertion or performance-based sex. Let's be honest, society, media, and even our own pride can place enormous pressure on how we think sex should look, especially for men. We're fed this idea that real sex must be long, intense, vigorous, and acrobatic. There's this silent expectation to perform, to go the distance, to satisfy your partner like you did when you were 25. But my dear friends, let me be crystal clear. Your body is not 25 anymore, and that's perfectly okay. Overexerting yourself during sex, especially in your senior years, is like forcing an old car to race uphill at high speeds. It's just not safe. Your heart, lungs, and muscles have different capacities now. And if you have any underlying conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, arthritis, or diabetes, pushing yourself too hard during sex can quite literally put your life at risk. Many older adults don't realize how physically demanding sex can be. It elevates your heart rate, increases blood pressure, taxes your respiratory system, and engages multiple muscle groups. Combine that with medications, like those for blood pressure or erectile dysfunction, and you have a cocktail of risks that can lead to heart attacks, strokes, or collapsing during or immediately after sex. So what does overexertion look like? It can be anything from trying to maintain long marathon sessions to forcing yourself into physically challenging positions, or even using performance-enhancing pills without a doctor's guidance. Some seniors even attempt to match the energy of a much younger partner. This can be particularly dangerous. You may not feel the strain immediately, but the damage accumulates fast. Instead of aiming for performance, shift your focus to connection and comfort. Sex doesn't have to be an athletic competition. It can be slower, more sensual, more intentional, and still deeply satisfying. Talk with your partner. Find positions that don't strain your back, knees, or hips. Use pillows for support. Experiment with different ways of giving and receiving pleasure that don't rely solely on penetration or long-lasting erections. I often tell my senior patients, make intimacy a journey, not a destination. Laugh together. Touch each other with kindness. Explore without pressure. And most importantly, listen to your body. If you're feeling tired, short of breath, dizzy, or strained in any way, pause. There's no shame in taking breaks or stopping altogether. Staying alive and well is much more important than finishing an act that could cost you your health or your life. Also, make sure to have regular heart checkups if you're sexually active and over the age of 60. Get clearance from your doctor, especially if you've had cardiac issues before or are taking medications that affect your blood pressure or heart rhythm. To wrap up this point, sex should never leave you feeling like you just ran a marathon. If it does, something needs to change. Go for connection over performance, and you'll find intimacy that's not only safer, but more fulfilling too. Number 2. Avoid sudden, unplanned, or high-stress sexual encounters. Now let's talk about something that catches many people off guard, not because it's physically extreme, but because it's mentally and emotionally taxing. Unplanned or high-stress sexual encounters. This may sound a bit strange at first, but hear me out. In my years of experience with senior patients, this is one of the most overlooked dangers when it comes to intimacy in your later years. You see, when you're young, spontaneous sex is often fun, exciting, and even energizing. Your body can adapt quickly to surprise situations. But as we age, that spontaneity, especially when it's tied to stress, anxiety, or awkwardness, can actually shock the system. And for someone over 60 or 70, that sudden jolt, physically or emotionally, can be dangerous. Let me give you an example. A senior gentleman in his late 60s once shared with me how he reconnected with an old flame after years apart. They hadn't seen each other in decades, and they quickly became romantic again. One evening, things escalated quickly. It was late, they'd been drinking a little, emotions were running high, and in the heat of the moment, they rushed into intimacy. No time to think about medications, no time to consider physical limitations, no time to prepare emotionally. The result? A panic attack, shortness of breath, and a visit to the emergency room. He didn't have a heart attack, thankfully, but it was a huge wake-up call. Your mind and your heart are deeply connected, and intimacy is as much an emotional experience as it is a physical one. If you're feeling nervous, pressured, insecure, or even confused during a sexual encounter, those emotions will affect your heart rate, your blood pressure, your breathing, and even your ability to perform. In some cases, this mental stress can push your cardiovascular system beyond what it can handle. And let's not forget, unplanned sex often comes without preparation. For instance, let me ask you the following questions. Please feel free to share your answers in the comment section. Question 1. Did you take your prescribed medications at the right time? Question 2. Did you eat properly that day? Question 3. Are you hydrated? Question 4. Are you emotionally grounded, or are you feeling anxious or unsure? Question 5. Have you had your doctor assess if it's safe for you to be sexually active? Without preparation, your body may not be in an optimal state to handle the intensity of arousal and physical movement. Something as simple as low blood sugar or a skipped heart medication can trigger a dangerous situation when mixed with excitement and stimulation. And let's also talk about the environment. If you're in an unfamiliar space or somewhere that doesn't give you physical comfort or emotional safety, like a cold hotel room, a cramped car, or even a house full of distractions, you're already dealing with tension. That tension alone can increase stress hormones like cortisol, which in turn raises your blood pressure and tightens your blood vessels. A recipe for disaster if you're not careful. My advice is this: plan for pleasure. There is absolutely nothing unromantic or old about wanting to be intentional with your intimacy. If anything, it's a sign of wisdom and deep care for yourself and your partner. Create a comfortable, peaceful setting. Ensure you're physically feeling well, emotionally present, and mentally relaxed. Talk openly with your partner about what feels safe, what feels good, and what boundaries are important. Also, please don't hesitate to involve your doctor in the conversation. I've had many older patients ask me discreetly, "Is it okay for me to have sex again?" Or, "I'm dating someone new. What should I be aware of?" These questions are perfectly valid and smart. Your doctor can review your heart health, your medications, your risk factors, and even suggest helpful tools or modifications to support safe intimacy. And one more thing, let go of the pressure to perform on demand. You are not a teenager. Your body has different rhythms, and that's perfectly normal. There's no need to rush. Allow intimacy to unfold gradually, with affection, patience, and mutual respect. That's where real pleasure comes from, not from pressure or proving something. Number 3. Avoid using performance-enhancing drugs without medical supervision. This is one I've been wanting to speak on for a long time, because I've seen too many dangerous outcomes, and some heartbreaking ones, linked to this single issue. If you're over 60, 70, or 80, and you're using performance-enhancing drugs like Viagra, Cialis, or herbal aphrodisiacs without proper medical advice, please stop immediately. Let me be very clear. I am not against these medications when they're used responsibly and under professional guidance. In fact, for many seniors, they have helped restore confidence, intimacy, and even marriage. But here's the danger: using these drugs without a full understanding of how they interact with your heart, blood pressure, and other medications can be extremely risky and even fatal. Let me tell you a story that sadly ended in tragedy. A 75-year-old man I once treated had started a relationship with a younger woman. Feeling pressure to keep up and perform like he was in his 30s, he started taking a double dose of over-the-counter sexual enhancers he bought online, without consulting any doctor. These pills were not regulated, and he didn't know what was in them. One night, right after taking them, he experienced chest pain during sex, collapsed, and never regained consciousness. He had an undiagnosed heart condition, and the pill caused a massive drop in his blood pressure. His heart simply couldn't handle it. I share this not to scare you, but to wake you up to the real danger. When you're over 60, your body metabolizes medications differently. Your arteries may be stiffer, your heart may be weaker, and you may already be on medications for blood pressure, diabetes, or cholesterol. Drugs like Viagra and Cialis work by dilating blood vessels, which can cause a serious drop in blood pressure, especially if you're already on nitrate or heart meds. Combining these substances without supervision can result in 1. Heart palpitations. 2. Dizziness or fainting. 3. Stroke. 4. Heart attack. 5. Or even death during sex, which is far more common than you might think. And it's not just prescription meds. I want you to be very cautious about herbal supplements, so-called natural boosters, or powders you find online or in local shops. Many of these contain undisclosed ingredients, some even laced with synthetic drugs or dangerous stimulants that can mess with your heart rhythm and blood vessels. So what should you do? First of all, talk to your doctor. If you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or low libido, don't be embarrassed. These are common and natural challenges as we age. Your doctor can assess whether performance-enhancing medication is safe for you. They can check your heart, review your prescriptions, and suggest a dosage that works with, not against, your health profile. Second, understand that intimacy isn't just about performance. The idea that you need a drug to be good in bed is often rooted in outdated thinking. Emotional connection, tenderness, communication, and creativity in the bedroom can be just as fulfilling, if not more so, than physical intensity. A slow, affectionate experience can be much safer and more pleasurable than chasing the high of youth. Also, if you and your partner are open to it, consider exploring non-penetrative forms of intimacy. There's a whole world of connection, sensuality, and touch that doesn't require you to push your body beyond its comfort zone. If penetration has become difficult or risky, don't feel like you've failed. Adjusting how you express intimacy is simply part of aging wisely. Let me also say this: you are not broken because your body doesn't function the way it used to. Aging comes with changes, and there's no shame in adapting. What's important is protecting your health while still honoring your desire for closeness, romance, and connection. In conclusion, please never take performance-enhancing medications without first consulting your doctor. What works for one person can be deadly for another. Save yourself the risk. Let your health provider guide you to the safest path forward. And remember, intimacy is about much more than what happens physically. It's about what you share emotionally and spiritually, too. Number 4. Avoid overexertion and marathon-like sexual sessions. Now, this might seem obvious at first glance, but you'd be surprised how often I see it happening, especially among older adults who feel they have something to prove, either to themselves or to their partner. Trying to engage in prolonged, intense, or high-energy sexual activity, what I sometimes call marathon-style sex, can be incredibly dangerous as you age. It puts an enormous strain on your cardiovascular system, your muscles, your joints, and yes, even your emotional well-being. Let's unpack this honestly. You see, when we were younger, our bodies were naturally more resilient. The heart could pump faster without protest. Our breathing returned to normal quickly after activity, and our muscles could endure strain without pulling or tearing. But as we age, the entire system slows down, not in a negative way, but in a natural, graceful way that requires adaptation, not defiance. Sex, especially the kind portrayed in movies or adult content, is often dramatized as a wild, fast, passionate workout. And too many seniors try to live up to that image. The result? Increased risk of 1. Heart attack, 2. Stroke 3. Muscle cramps 4. Joint pain 5. Shortness of breath 6. Extreme fatigue afterward 7. Or in the most serious cases, death during or shortly after sex. I'm not exaggerating here. Numerous studies and real-life cases have shown that sexual exertion in elderly individuals, especially those with heart conditions or chronic illnesses, can become a medical emergency when the body is pushed beyond its safe limits. And unfortunately, most of these emergencies happen because the person didn't think it was a big deal. Let me give you a real example. A couple in their late 60s came to see me. They were both healthy, vibrant, and still sexually active, which, by the way, is absolutely wonderful. But the man was trying to reignite the spark by mimicking the kind of intense, prolonged sex they had in their 30s. One night, after nearly an hour of high-energy activity, he collapsed from exhaustion. It turned out he had undiagnosed atrial fibrillation, a heart rhythm disorder, and the physical strain nearly caused a stroke. He survived, thankfully, but the lesson was clear. At a certain age, sex must be reimagined, not forced. If you find yourself trying to meet unrealistic expectations, either from yourself, from your partner, or from what you've absorbed from media, you need to take a step back and reframe what intimacy means. Now that we've walked through those 4 sex practices that older adults should avoid, I want to leave you with something even more important than a warning: a path forward. Because intimacy doesn't end when you turn 60 or 70 or 80. In fact, for many people, this stage of life brings a new kind of closeness, one that's based less on physical performance and more on emotional connection, vulnerability, shared experience, and deep trust. But to fully enjoy that, we need to replace risky behaviors with safe, intentional practices that support our health and our happiness. So let me speak to your heart for a moment. If you've been feeling anxious, embarrassed, or even ashamed about your changing sexual ability, please know this: you are not alone, and there is nothing wrong with you. The body changes, but your capacity to love, to be loved, and to express intimacy never goes away. We just have to adapt. So how do we do that? Start by having honest conversations with your partner. Talk about your fears. Talk about your needs. Talk about your limits. Too often, couples avoid these conversations and suffer in silence, leading to misunderstanding, guilt, or frustration. But intimacy starts with communication. Next, speak to your doctor or healthcare provider. If you're experiencing pain, lack of desire, erectile dysfunction, vaginal dryness, or other changes, it's okay. These are common. And there are safe, effective treatments available. But you won't know unless you ask. And let me be clear, there is absolutely no shame in seeking help. I've had patients in their 80s start enjoying sex again, simply because they got the right advice and support. Also, consider incorporating touch that's non-sexual touch into your daily life. Holding hands, cuddling, stroking each other's hair, a long hug. These actions build intimacy and connection, often more than the act of sex itself. And when you do engage in sexual activity, approach it with gentleness, slowness, and creativity. There's no need to rush or perform. There's only the need to connect, to feel safe, and to enjoy each other's presence. Now, a word to the widows, widowers, and singles who may be watching. If you've lost a partner or are starting over, it's okay to take your time. It's okay to feel scared or unsure. But you still deserve love and connection. And when you're ready, approach new relationships with care and awareness. Know your boundaries. Be open, but also be discerning. Your heart and your health are precious. And finally, never underestimate the power of emotional and spiritual intimacy. For many older adults, deep connection comes not just from touch, but from shared laughter, meaningful conversation, prayer, reflection, or simply being fully present with someone who sees and values you. You are still worthy of love. You are still capable of passion. You are still alive. And that means you still get to write the story of how you love. So, my friends, let's retire the myths. Let's avoid the dangerous habits. And let's embrace a new vision for intimacy, one that's wise, warm, and wonderfully age-appropriate.